Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session. It is Thursday, August 24th, 2023. It is 9:32 a.m. This session is set to go until 10 a.m. This is a hybrid meeting. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast, room 110. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Caroline McKee. I'm the chair of the board. Vice Chair Ty Menser in the boardroom, as well as Commissioner Gary Edwards. We also have County Manager Romero Chavez, as well as Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell and Assistant County Manager Rob Gilder will be joining here shortly. The topics on today's agenda is the Olympia Joint Plan update, and this is a follow-up from the public hearing. So passing it to Ashley or...
Yeah, let's go straight to Ashley. And
Well, thank you all for joining us today. This is a follow-up to the public hearing that was held on the Olympia Joint Plan. And as I am fairly new to this process, I am going to...
that was August 1st, the public hearing. Right?
August 1st public hearing?
August 1st public hearing.
Okay.
And I'm going to kick it over to Leah to dive into the details.
All right. Good morning, Commissioners. Leah Davis with Community Planning. As was stated, August 1st, we had a public hearing on the update of the Olympia Joint Plan. Today we'll have a post-hearing briefing, and we'll discuss the comments we received throughout the process and at the public hearing, and then we'll need some decisions from you to move forward. I'll share my screen. So there's the intro, which I've done. Today we'll review the public comments received, as I said, including all of those before and during the Planning Commission process. We have a Glenmore Village discussion to have about what will happen with that in the future. And I will talk about the recommendations from both planning commissions as well as the City Council. We did receive 5 written comments during the Planning Commission process, and they're summed up here. People are worried about additional traffic in Glenmore Village. Someone wants to require the grocery store in Glenmore Village. They think that would be convenient for them. And then these other comments from that same person are generally about the Olympia Joint Plan. Don't reduce parking, don't annex that area into the city, and reduce residential density. Someone suggested there wasn't enough capacity in the UGA to handle future growth. We had a discussion about that during the public hearing, and I will fall back to the TRPC data and research that was done and use their information, and it says that there is enough capacity in the UGA. And then one comment that was generally about development code, which we're not looking at today, but in the future, including sidewalks, bike lanes, mixed use, and condo insurance laws. And then another comment that came in shortly before the public hearing, which was to stop the proposed apartment development at Milroy and 24th. That's in the northwest part of the UGA boundary up there off of Cooper Point Road. And they want to review and possibly change the boundaries of the UGA. During the public hearing, we received 3 people testifying. The applicant was here and testified that he prefers the minor code change. Another person who lives in the Glenmore Village neighborhood suggested that he doesn't want increased traffic in the neighborhood. And then a person on the Zoom said, don't change the zoning, and she understands why there would be a need to eliminate the requirement for a grocery store. So we have 2 proposals on the Glenmore Village. Both of them were applications from the property owner. The first one was a land use and rezoning amendment. The proposal is to go from community-oriented shopping center to professional office, residential, multifamily housing. In discussions during the Planning Commission process before that public hearing, the city and the county had some discussions with the applicant and said that that proposal wasn't supported because of the existing planned community that's there, and also the new changing that zoning wouldn't meet the intent of what that planned community was about. And so the applicant said that a minor code change to eliminate the requirement for a grocery store would be a good way to fix the problem for him. And so he submitted an application to do that minor code amendment. So we have both of those options still on the table neither application was withdrawn, so that's why we have two options to look at. So today, we'll talk about the Planning Commission recommendations. The Olympia Planning Commission recommended unanimously that we adopt the joint plan and do the minor code amendment. The Planning Commission of Thurston County unanimously recommended adopting the joint plan, and then we're a little bit split, but a majority voted to amend the code for the Glenmore Village, the minor code amendment. The next steps from you, we need direction on the Glenmore Village options and ask a question if you want any changes to the joint plan that we can take going forward for the final action at the end of the year. This will be adopted with the comprehensive plan when that gets adopted in November, December of this year. So the two options for Glenmore Village. Do you want to rezone it from community-oriented shopping center to professional office, residential multifamily? There is an associated land use change with that code change or that zoning change, and that's from the planned community that we currently have to multifamily housing. Or do you want to adopt the minor code change, eliminating the requirement for the grocery store? And that's everything today that I have. I'm willing to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Leah. Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, my question is, are we gonna make that decision today with a thumbs up one thing or the other? Or is that coming in another time?
No, that's the decision you make today.
Today.
With a, yeah.
So,
Provide direction, so staff comes
Okay.
back with,
well, I'm ready to make that decision on, and I'm good with what Olympia is recommending and the planning commission majority is recommending.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer, do you have any questions?
Yes, I'm just trying to understand the Glenmore Village. I understand what it means in terms of that you're calling it site specific. So does that mean that the change, like this removal of a grocery store requirement, would that have any other implications to any other zoning or thing in any other part of Thurston County, or is this just somehow limited to this one piece of land?
That's a great question. This is the only area in the UGA that is zoned community-oriented shopping center. So even though it would apply to all that zoning, this is the only area.
This is the only one?
Yeah.
Okay. And so it would keep the same zone, but just make it more like remove that requirement. If there were to be theoretically a creation of another zone somewhere else, it would just not have to have it has to have a grocery store?
Yeah, there's a
Doesn't matter.
supermarket, actually, a pretty
Okay.
big grocery store. And it could still have that, but there's no requirement for it.
Okay. All right, so this is a pretty narrow thing, just given the reality of only one such zone.
Yes,
Are you-
that's correct.
Okay, I'm good with the recommendations.
Okay.
with the minor code amendment.
Yeah,
Okay.
the what came out of the Olympia Planning Commission and City Council.
And I don't have any questions as well, and I'm also on the same page with option 2, which was the Planning Commission recommendation as well.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for changes to the joint plan?
Thank you. That's the other question. In the overall plan of this document,
Yeah,
I do not have any changes, Madam Chair.
okay. Commissioner Menzer?
No, I don't. Just to recap, because I know we went through this with Tumwater, when it comes to these other things, and you said they'd be there, it's part, I know it's kind of a nomenclature thing for me. It was like, what I thought of as a joint plan is really like two different things. Like there's the development code changes, which is coming, and we might be able to address some of the written public comment about foods or whatnot.
That's correct. The joint plan is a comprehensive plan for the UGA. And so once that's in place and we've agreed to goals and policies in the UGA, then we can come back and update our development goals to implement those goals and policies. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and I just, I guess my question is how does that look, time, like how much, is that a 2-year process, or like getting to
know.
those really specific issues?
Yeah, that is also a joint effort between the city and the county, and it all depends on staffing for both jurisdictions, and it does take a while. I mean, we would probably open up the entire Olympia development code, because there have been a lot of changes since the last update. And so it could take a couple of years conceivably. I mean, I've started on the Tumwater Development Code and have that, a first draft done of that, so
Okay.
since we updated that, but that's been a couple years ago. So, between Lacey and Olympia, I have a lot of development code update to be doing, and it is a long process, it can be.
How much of that do you work like directly with folks from that municipal jurisdiction?
Pretty closely. They at least provide all of the amendments that they've made over the years that we have not amended our code to match in the UGA. So they would at least provide that, and then I would review all of that, find out what makes sense, and bring it forward to the Planning Commission. And that process can take a while as well, because that all has to be reviewed through them and taken to a public hearing through the Planning Commission and agreed upon. But it's not a joint Planning Commission effort. This would just be Thurston County Planning Commission.
And can you give an example of where, like, Tumwater presents their standards and then you're looking at it and for whatever reason, it just doesn't make sense to use the Tumwater standard in the UGA? Like,
Oh, yeah, let's see. Just things that might be more urban oriented and not so much, appropriate for an urban growth area or that level of density. The development standards for individual parcels, we hope to be in alignment with, but it's more of a high level policies that don't really fit. I can't come up with a specific
Okay,
example in this
very good.
moment, but
yeah, it's interesting to me, just the way that's.
it is very interesting. I'm happy to meet with you and share some of those things when I pull up that Tumwater code again.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Leah. So, okay, and I did not have any changes. Okay, so any additional questions or comments? This will be coming forth in an AIS and a future agenda, is that correct?
It will be rolled in with the comp plan update, so it will all be reviewed at one time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so it is 9:46. We are adjourned.